I'm sure that I kind of let it slip last week, and then I'm leaning into it pretty hard this week, and I'm sure that a lot of you are disappointed in me for being a Chicago Blackhawks fan instead of a Red Wings fan. I know. You can boo me, hiss me, don't throw tomatoes. That's food waste. Or maybe you just don't care. Yeah, thank you. Maybe you just don't care, which is fine too. I want to tell you guys a little bit about the Chicago Blackhawks tonight to start out our time together, because it's kind of interesting what's going on right now with this team. So hockey kind of circulates players pretty frequently, huh? Yes, sometimes. They kind of turn players over pretty frequently. Players get traded a lot and kind of move around quite a bit. And Chicago had this, it's called a dynasty. They won like 3 or 4 Stanley Cups, like pretty much back-to-back. They had some of the best players in the NHL. And then all those players aged out. And so about maybe 5 years ago, the Blackhawks started trying to recruit new players to kind of build up a new team that can actually like win at hockey. And the hard thing is, they're kind of in this, they call it a rebuilding stage. And so I got a picture of one of the guys that's part of this rebuilding stage. This guy's, I love it. Mike put the Red Wings logo on there. This guy's Connor Bedard. He's one of the top hockey players right now in the NHL, if you will, but he's 19. So he knows very little about NHL hockey. And compared to a lot of the guys who've been playing for 10, 15 years in the NHL, right, he's not that great. He's got a lot of potential. He was a number 1 round draft pick. Like, he's a big deal for the team to have. His jersey is like the top jersey sold out. It turns out in the current roster, this team is basically 19 to 23 years old, which is not very old. And so you think about it, this is a pretty young team. They've got a lot of good players, but they just haven't played together much. They haven't played in the NHL much, and they're figuring it out and learning. So it shouldn't come to a surprise that currently the Blackhawks are the 2nd worst team in the NHL. Yes. They put the L in NHL. So, but here's the deal. They've got great shooters, great passers, great defensemen. They've got a fantastic goalie. They're all just young, and they're inexperienced. They had, there are 2 players, though, that I really want to talk about and compare a little bit. The first one is a guy named Seth Jones. Seth Jones had something like a 9-year contract with the Blackhawks, and he really wants to be on a winning team. The Blackhawks are not a winning team. So this season, Seth Jones goes out into the media, and he starts, talking trash about the team and the management and the coaching. And he's letting everyone know, this team's no good, and we're never going to win, and I don't want to be on a team that doesn't win. So how do you think the fans reacted to having a guy like that on the team? They threw tomatoes at him. Yeah, they're like, get rid of this guy. We don't want him. He doesn't want to be here. He doesn't want to be a part of what we're trying to build. Get rid of him. So they traded him for this young goalie who's amazing. This goalie comes in, and they won the game, and the goalie saved 40 out of 43 shots on goal or something crazy like that. I think they made 2 or 3 against him, which is crazy. 40 shots. Anyway, but a lot of people didn't like Seth after that because they're like, well, this guy's not loyal to the team. He doesn't care about rebuilding this team and this franchise. He just wants to win. He just wants a cup. So let's just send him out, go get one. Fine, whatever. Well, there's another guy on the team. His name is Patrick Maroon. His nickname is the Big Rig because he's 6'5". He might be. The dude's massive. He's won 3 Stanley Cups already with multiple different teams, and he's retiring at the end of the year this year. So he's playing for the 2nd worst team. This dude's won 3 Stanley Cups, and he's playing for the 2nd worst team in the NHL, and he's like, I'm going to retire now. Do you think that that's something that he's happy to do, or do you think he's like, man, this kind of is a bummer? You'd think that he'd be bummed about it. He's actually kind of positive about it. Like, because what he's seeing is, I get to be the old guy who's investing in these young guys, and in 5 years when these young guys win a Stanley Cup, I get to go, that's the stuff I taught them. That's the stuff I told them. I got to influence them as young players, and now they're winning. He's kind of encouraged by that. Just on Sunday, they had 2 new guys who are, 20, early 20s, join the team, and one of them gets hit pretty hard. Legal hit, right? He was allowed to get hit the way he got hit, but man, it just knocked him over, and it was a little rough, seemed a little uncalled for the guy's first NHL game. Patrick Maroon is on the ice when he watches this happen, and without skipping a beat, he shakes off the gloves and goes up to the guy that pushed his teammate and grabs him by the collar and starts punching him in the head. Right? I'm not going to show it. You can watch it on your own time. But this is the thing that I find really interesting about this is that what Patrick is communicating, first of all, to the other team is, hey, these are our guys. You don't mess with our guys. We might not be winning this game, but you don't mess with our guys. And then what he's communicating to the new guy on the team, you're part of this team. We care about you. We want you to succeed. We're not going to let anybody push you around. You can look up the clip on your own time. It was Sunday's game.
What's it called? Okay, what's the clip called?
I'm not going to tell you right now. We'll do it later. But he's communicating a lot of positive things through that fight. And yes, he got a penalty for roughing or whatever, but it's not about the roughing. It's about the respect, the honor, the teamwork. We're going to build up these young guys to be part of this team, and we want them to do well, and we want to pour into them, show them that we care about them. Do you think that young guy, that new player, is going to be like, man, I like being on this team now? Yeah. Because look, this guy who's got 3 Stanley Cups got in a fight and got a penalty for me. That speaks volumes. And I'm curious who you would be in a situation like this on a team that's rebuilding. Would you be the kind of person who's like Seth Jones, who goes, I just want to get the cup. I'm out. The team, you guys can go fail. I'm going to go win. I'm going to go get the cup. Bye. Or would you be more like a Patrick Maroon and be like, hey, we might not win, but we're going to lose together. And we're going to fight for each other, and we're going to build something awesome, and then in 5 years we will win. What kind of person would you be in that situation? You don't have to tell me, but just think about it. In Nehemiah 11, we see Israel take time to invest in the long game with one another. They choose to fight for each other in this. And we're only going to be looking at a few verses because I will tell you that about 99.5% of Nehemiah 11 and 12 is just names. And and so I'm just going to spare you from the names. You're welcome. You can read them on your own time. But we're going to be in Nehemiah 11, which is on page 553 if you have a student Bible. And I'll start reading the first 2 verses. Then you can read along on the screen, or I can get you a student Bible. Now, the leaders of the people settled in Jerusalem. The rest of the people cast lots to bring out of every 10 of them, or brought out 1 of every 10 of them to live in Jerusalem, the holy city, while the remaining 9 were to stay in their own towns. The people commended all who volunteered to live in Jerusalem. Last week we saw that Jerusalem was finished. They finished the temple, they finished the wall, right? The city's ready to go. But there's still a problem with the city of Jerusalem. No one lives there. Like, there's not houses. There's not, like, buildings and stuff. There's just a temple and a wall, pretty much. And so we have land for the city, a temple in the city, a wall for the city, but no one wants to live in a dilapidated frame of a city and have to build their own house and work on the city and stuff like that. So the leaders first choose to settle in the city, right? The first group of people that says we're going to live in that city is the leaders. Leadership, being a leader in this passage, seems to indicate that it means being the one who makes the uncomfortable choices first. Being a leader seems like it's the person who's making the uncomfortable choices first. If you want to lead, you're going to have to do the hard parts in order to pave the way for others to follow. Right? For example, right, dodgeball night coming up on Friday. What would dodgeball night look like if I didn't buy new dodgeballs? Or buy the bowling pins for bowling pin dodgeball? Or if I didn't order pizza for us to eat before we played dodgeball? Would it be as good of an event for you guys? Would you enjoy the event if we didn't have dodgeballs or didn't have pizza or didn't have... Probably not as much, right? But, yes, in the gym. But here's the deal. Do you think that it's super fun to spend a bunch of time on the phone trying to get pizzas ordered or trying to pull things together, think about all the details? And it might be kind of fun. I do have fun with it. But some of it is it's more like hard work type stuff of like, man, I don't really want to have to like call these people today. I didn't think that I would have to do this or that. Or, oh man, I got to make sure I get all the pieces together. Or, oh, I forgot to get something for... In order to pave the way and lead, you have to make sure you're doing the hard work first so that everyone else can follow. You guys wouldn't be able to have a fun event if someone wasn't willing to put the work in to make the event fun. Being a leader means you have to do the hard part first. If Israel didn't have leaders who went first, no one else would have wanted to go. Like, think about that. If the leaders were like, hey, we need people to live in Jerusalem, you guys do it. We're not going to. It's a dump. You guys live there. What kind of leader is that? Is that someone you'd want to follow? No. So the leaders go first, and after the leaders are picked, they cast lots for 1 out of every 10 people to see who else will join them to move, populate, and build it. So the way that would work is like they would take like, okay, here's like a chunk of 10 people, and then we have like a little hat with numbers 1 through 10 in it. We pull out a number. Oh, it's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Great, Wyatt, you're going to go to live in Jerusalem. Right? That's how it would work. The other 9 would go back to their other towns outside Jerusalem and go back and live there. And this is interesting to me because the people commend those who volunteered to live in Jerusalem. Does that sound like volunteering, Wyatt? Did you volunteer for that? No, I just picked you and said, well, you got to go. But it says volunteer. Does that seem to make sense to any of you? It didn't make sense to me.
Maybe they volunteered to enter the raffle.
Yeah, it doesn't. No, they didn't volunteer to enter the raffle. It doesn't sound like volunteering to me. It sounds like voluntelling. Have you ever heard of voluntelling? Yeah, it's like, hey, you should serve somewhere. It's like, but what if I don't want? I don't care. You're going to. Joyful heart. Okay. The Hebrew word used for volunteer is actually used more like the word that we would use for draft. Does anyone know what a draft is? What's a draft?
It's a big, tall animal.
That's a giraffe? Draft.
Like a
Yeah.
or the prayer team draft that I know you did 'cause my dad.
Yeah. You think like the NFL draft, like, okay, who's going to be on the team? Well, it's up to the team to pick, right? The general manager or whoever gets to pick who's on the team. Sometimes the player gets a say, but it's like, no, it's like we're going to pick you for the team and you're going to join the team. We have a draft from time to time. We have drafts for the military. It's like you don't get, yeah, like back in World War II, like you don't get a say if you're going to be in the army or not in World War II. It's like we picked you to be in, you have to go. That's the draft. So the word for volunteer here is almost more like the idea of a draft, that the people are drafted into living in the city. They're told to live in the city on behalf of the people of Israel, and the people of Israel celebrate it because they're recognizing that the people that have been chosen for this draft to live in the city are doing something more difficult. They're doing something that takes a special type of, like they're called into it basically. And so they get recognized for that and applauded for that. So then I'm going to take a peek all the way down at verse 20. The rest of the Israelites with the priests and Levites were in all the towns of Judah, each on their ancestral property. So, what were all the other Israelites doing living on their other ancestral property? They weren't living in the city rebuilding it. What were they doing?
They were waiting to be drafted.
They weren't waiting to be drafted. They escaped the draft. They're just chilling. You think they were just going back to life as normal?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. They're working the field. Like, you don't get a field in the city. You got a field out in the, we're working the field, getting crops, going to the market, making a trade, living life, making our money. But then here's the interesting thing. There weren't a lot of economic, financial incentives to live and stay in the city. So the people in the city needed people on the outside. The people in the city needed the people on the outside to work their fields and make some money, go trading, that kind of thing, to help support the rebuilding of the city, to help provide materials for the rebuilding of the city, right? To help support the work that they were doing. So, they were on the outside helping the people of God rebuild the city of God. So what? Why should we care? Well, think about being a Christian kind of like this. You think about it like there's the missionary, right? There's the pastor. There's the people whose lives depend on the gifts of others. Some people are called to go into the middle of the city and do the rebuilding, right, in the kingdom of God. Some people are called to volunteer. Anyone volunteer, like in kids or up in the gathering place? Some of us are called to volunteer, to serve in that capacity, to be in the city doing the rebuilding. Maybe when you grow up, you have an idea of what you want to be when you grow up. Anyone have ideas of that? Yes. Right? Maybe you want to be an architect or a teacher or a business owner. That's the idea of some of us are being called to work in the surrounding villages. We got to support the work of the rebuilding of the city of God, but we can't all be in the city of God because how are we going to make stuff work? How are we going to get the things we need? How are we going to... Well, yes, but God chooses to use us at times, right? So this is really cool to think about what you want to do for a living someday and ask yourself, not just like, what should I do or what do I want to be when I grow up, but what does God want me to be when I grow up? And how would God want me to operate in the job that I have someday? If you want to be a musician, how would God want you to be a musician? If you want to be a YouTuber, or an influencer, or whatever, how would God want you to act as an influencer? How would you use the gifts, the fundings, the things that you have, the resources that God gives to you to help rebuild His kingdom? Because all of us are called to use our gifts to help build the city of God, which is His church. And guess what? You don't have to wait till you're an adult to live like this. If you're called to build the city on the inside, volunteer. Join Calvary Kids. Help in the gathering place. Go be an usher. Be a greeter. You guys can do that stuff, right? Maybe you're supposed to start a Bible study at your school, right? Maybe you're supposed to share the gospel with your neighbors. Maybe you're also being called to be someone who's in the outside villages. What does it look like to serve in your capacity? I'm guessing that most of us don't have incomes and jobs and we can't just give money to the church all the time. Okay, maybe some of us can. But how do you support from the outside villages other than just giving money? Yeah, school. School's your work. It's your job right now. Anyway, but how do you also support the church or building the kingdom from outside? Okay, well, one of them could be finding ways to give. One of the ways could be praying for us, right? I mean, think about it. How many times a week do you find yourself praying for Pastor Jim or Pastor Tom or the church, praying that our programs go smoothly or that God uses us in a special way in this community. I mean, none of us pray as much as we should. But that's a great way to support us from the outside. Another way of supporting would be inviting friends, right? Like we got dodgeball night. Bring a friend in. Bringing new people into the city is another way to help support the rebuilding of the city. Isn't that interesting? Bringing more labor in, bringing more workforce in. No matter where you are, no matter what your age, no matter what your income, you are called to build the city and fund the city. And it's God's city that he's building, and it's called his church. So do your part and help build that city up. Let's pray. Lord, thank you for your word, for your church. Thank you for building. Lord, you are active. You're not a passive God who just made the world and sits back and enjoys the show. You're active. You're intimately involved in our lives, in the things that we do. And so, Lord, I pray that as we think about how we are used to build your kingdom, that you would just help encourage us and push us forward so that we could be people who build your kingdom well, who focus on giving in the ways that we can, supporting in the ways that we can, serving in the ways that we can, that whether we're called to be inside or outside of the city, that you would use us. You have us all in special places and unique places for a reason, and so help us to see those reasons. Help us to use those giftings well. Help us to be, in a sense, more like a Patrick Maroon than a Seth Jones. That we would see the value in building up your kingdom and your people, and that even if there's not much in it for us right now, that we would see that there's a lot in it for you. So Lord, just be with us and help lead us and guide us as we try to make decisions like, what should I be doing now? So we lift this up to you in Jesus' name. Amen.